adventurers, today we're doing our June wrap-up for you all. Neither of us had a whole huge progress this month, but yeah, we'll jump right in. So the first book I read this month was The Magicians Nephew by C.S. Lewis, the first book in the Chronicles of Narnia chronologically. We listened to that one on audiobook. We went on a road trip earlier in June, and yeah, that was the first book I got through.
The first book I finished was A Time to Die by Nadine Brandes. If you've watched much of our channel, you noticed that I was taking a long time to read this. I wasn't really terribly interested in it. The premise was really cool. I liked the premise, but it didn't live up to, for most of the book, it didn't live up to that premise that it had set, and it wasn't until about the last quarter-ish that I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this. So it was kind of a slog for me to get through, but I'm glad that it's done now.
The next book I read and completed in June is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This is the first book in the Chaos Walking series, and I have a lot of mixed thoughts about this. I did not like the character voice at all. It didn't require this. Patrick Ness chose to enhance the character's voice to purposely misspell words. The only book I've ever read that can get away with that is Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, and it was to the point where I would stop reading, look at the word, look up, trying to figure out what the word meant because it was spelled that badly. It was a really interesting premise. I loved the idea. I felt like there were some very YA paths that they took throughout the book, decisions that were made that were very characteristic of a YA novel. I wasn't planning on reading the second one, mostly because I didn't enjoy the character's voice. Plus, the theme was a little bit confusing. They were saying one thing and then this thing happened, but that was okay. But it wasn't. And it was very complicated, which life is complicated, things are complicated, that's fine, but you gotta actually pull things together at the end with the themes. It left on a ginormous cliffhanger, and the book ended on a ginormous cliffhanger, and I wasn't anticipating on reading book 2. I may start it to see what I think, and if I have no interest in book 2 once that initial cliffhanger is resolved, and the first chapter, because that's all it's gonna take, we'll see what happens from there. I got book 2 from the library, so I have it on hand if I have a sudden urge to figure out what happened. But yeah, that's my very concise thoughts of Chaos Walking book 1. I was disappointed. Patrick Ness with A Monster Call is my absolute favorite book right now. He did a fantastic job with that story. So it was a huge letdown for me, for my favorite author to to put out a book that just did not meet my expectations. So, I may start book 2, we'll see what I feel like. I may go back to the library before I get to it, we'll see.
So as Kate already mentioned, we listened to The Magicians Nephew. So that's the second book that I read and completed in June. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts about it. It's just really, I didn't love the Chronicles of Narnia when I first read them, but that's because I was comparing them to Lord of the Rings. I've since realized you can't compare fantasies to each other, because that doesn't work. And I've grown to appreciate the Chronicles of Narnia a lot more. It's still not my favorite series, but I really do appreciate it, and there's a lot of aspects that I really enjoy about it. With all that being said, The Magician's Nephew was always my favorite or one of my favorites of the series. And it was just super cool to reread that one and listen to it again, especially since it was narrated by Kenneth Branagh, and just great actor if you don't know who that is.
So the next book I completed in June is Black Canary and Zatanna Blood Spell by Paul Dini and Joe Quinones.
I didn't see the word.
Okay. I picked this up at the thrift store, that's the right word. I picked this up at the thrift store. It was like $1 or something, and Black Canary is one of my favorite superheroes. Mostly what I know her from is the animated Justice League and Justice League Unlimited series. So I was just curious to see what I thought. I've not read anything with Zatanna in it before. I technically have read stuff with Black Canary because of Justice League, and it was okay. The story was really interesting. There was a lot of mystery and intrigue in it, and some nice reveals that I appreciated. I haven't read anything with Zatanna, like I said. What I liked about this book was watching Zatanna and Black Canary's friendship, so that was kind of fun. Other than that, I probably wouldn't read another Zatanna book, just because it's not really my thing, but I really appreciated the friendship aspect in it.
So the last story that I read in June is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, translated by J.R.R. Tolkien. He did not write this story, he translated it. The author of the story is anonymous. We don't know who actually wrote it. He's known as the Gwen poet. I didn't say the last book because there's also 2 other stories combined in this book that I have, and that is Pearl and Sir Orfeo. I have not read them yet. I would actually really like to sometime soon here, but I haven't got to them yet. As for Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, I think I'm going to be doing a dedicated review to that, so I won't put too many of my thoughts here, but we'll just leave it at I really, really enjoyed it, and it's amazing to see Tolkien's writing style coming through even in a translated work.
So the last book I read in June was the Justice League of America. So DC Comics Classics Library Justice League of America by John Perez, Volume 1, George Perez. And the reason I specify that is because there's several different stories within this one edition, because it's like a library edition type of thing. DC Comics Classics Library. Just what it says. Justice League of America, essentially. This was a lot of fun. I read this as a kid and I didn't remember very much of it, but I have this weird thing where my memories and my dreams and reality all get mixed up sometimes. And I was going through something the other day, that sounded really dramatic. I was thinking through something the other day and I was trying to figure out how it fit, and I'm like, surely this is from Justice League, the TV show. And I went through and I watched YouTube videos, and Tony Googled the stuff for me, and I watched Justice League videos and I could not figure it out. I read this comic and I found it, so I was pretty excited about that. Yeah, this was really good. This is an older comic. It's written in the 1980s, I believe, was when it first came out, and I thought that the themes in this were fantastic. I forgot that superhero comics can have actually wholesome themes that go deep. I was so impressed with the things that they brought up in here. That would not be endorsed by DC nowadays. Very impressed, and I remembered how much I love comics. So you'll probably see a lot of comics from me recently just because the library opened, and that's what I was excited to look for.
Thank you guys for watching. I think that is all for this video. If you enjoyed this wrap up, please leave a like and comment down below what you read in June.
Thanks for watching an Erudite adventure. Stay warm. Gross, that was lemonade.